Hello, hi there everybody, it's Bella, the Secret Psychic, and welcome to my live feed talk which I'm doing from my home in London, England, on a subject that I get asked quite a lot about and waiting for the prime opportunity, and we're in 2017. Happy New Year firstly, and why not kick the year off by a very good, very important subject, or one that I get asked a lot about anyway, about twin flames. And what are they? How are you in one? How you can identify one. We're going to be talking about that today. So welcome if you're watching live from my Facebook. If you're watching live from my Facebook community, which is Bella the Secret Psychic, do say hello, do like, do comment, and do share. And if you are watching live or watching the repeat, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube, welcome to all my subscribers on YouTube as well who are watching this as well. So if you don't know much about me, I'm Bella the Secret Psychic, and I work with my spirit guides, and I do the normal services that somebody who talks to their spirit guides does in terms of personal readings, but I also do live weekly talks here on my Facebook channel on all things spiritual, where my community vote on it each week. So just also, if you're there, say hi, say which country you're from, because you know how I love that. If you have a question at all about twin flames, if I can answer it during the feed, I will. I've had some questions beforehand and I've selected a few to answer, and I will get through those near the end, including any questions that may pop up as well near the end as well. So again, if you're watching this first of all on YouTube, do subscribe if you like what you see, because there's more of this nearly every week as well. So just to quickly move on to the subject that we're going to be sort of talking about today, we're going to be talking about twin flames, but also what I've done as well is I'm going to couple in on the end of this information about toxic relationships, or you might call it false twin flames, so that people can get the contrast, so that you know which is and which isn't, because I think knowing the two is so really important to know, basically. So as you know, for those of you who watch my streams quite often, I do flip from screen to screen. So I'm going to flip now to start to talk about twin flames. I am diving deep, guys, so you need to get your heads in gear. You know, my version is how my guides show it to me, and it is diving deep, so you need to kind of get your heads in gear. And if you don't get it the first time, you know what, watch on the repeat, watch as many times as you need to until you understand it. So I'm going to dive in deep, have a bit of a break, come back, and then we're going to move on to some more stuff. So I'm going to flick to my other screen now, and actually just before I do that, let's see who's here, because I've got a few people that's here. Hi Melissa, hi Desiree, hi Louise, hi Jessica, hi Martina, hi, is it Janelle? Tell me if I pronounce your name wrong, Janelle, and Terry as well. Thanks for joining me here, I do appreciate it. So I'm now going to flip over, so get your heads in gear, guys, because we're diving deep. Hello, hi there. So I'm going to crack on and talk about twin flames, the question that I get asked the most about. Basically, the theory is twin flames are two halves of the same soul. Or is it? That's the kind of I guess, the human aspect of how we like to break things down. But I kind of want you to come on a bit of a more deeper journey when it comes to understanding who we are. If you've seen my video on consciousness and my Borg theory and my hive theory, this principle is based on the same thing. So instead of looking at this in the human aspect, I kind of want you to kind of just free some abandonment and free what you may have learnt or you may have read when it comes to twin flames, and think about things maybe this way, so that you can kind of understand why twin flames have the power that everybody sort of gushes about, really. So twin flames, well, if you see my video on consciousness, then you'll kind of understand that when you think about souls being a connection between two halves of the same soul, like being split in two, that's very verbatim. I kind of want you to think about, if you've seen my video on consciousness, and in my video I did mention something a bit like the Harry Potter theory about how Lord Voldemort in that book, if you've ever read that book, splits himself 7 ways. What I'm trying to say to you is that you've got to think of us all like energy, as all part of consciousness, or some people like to call it the universe, or some people like to call it all part of source. So we're all part of source, or maybe look at it this way, that we're all part of one big ocean of water. Now if you think of the ocean of water, every form of water, one way or another, all stems from the same place, and we're talking salt water here, not evaporated cloud water, but salt water, ocean. That body of water, as it migrates into the land and navigates through, it forms rivers. And then from rivers forms streams and creeks, from all sourcing from the same big ocean. And so that's yet another analogy to kind of explain that we're all part of the same big thing. And actually what has happened is that aspect of that consciousness, of that source, has flowed into a river, or has flowed into a stream or a creek, or i.e. those creeks and rivers are us. Okay, so if you think about the ocean and perhaps me as a person, think of it in the literal sense. I've decided to swim out of that ocean and I want to be a river. And then I've said to myself, I want to have the human experience. I would like to reincarnate or carnate in a corporeal form, from my corporeal form into an actual person, to me, Bella. So I'm going to form into a stream or a creek to become that aspect that I've desired to be. But I could also say to myself, well, actually, I'd like to have this contractual kind of human aspect experience through this creek from my river, but also I might want several others. I might want 2 or 3 others. I might want 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 others. So there I am, creaking away, forming from my river loads of different aspects of me, having loads of different human experiences all at the same time without me even knowing it, because I've designed myself to be that way, because I wanted to have more than one. Does that make sense? Bear with me if it doesn't. So what I'm trying to say is that there could be more than one aspect of me living right now, and I wouldn't necessarily know it. And that's the idea of where twin flames come from. Why? Because just like as we all flow from the same pool and aspect of consciousness, where it is wholeness, where it is oneness, where we feel divine, where we feel whole, where we feel like home, why wouldn't it be that if I veered off to become a river and then decided, as part of my sort of flowing experience, my energy experience, that I actually wanted to split myself in different aspects so that I can have several different human aspects at the same time? Why couldn't there be more than one version? And I could go along not even realizing or recognizing necessarily, depending on how I set my intentions or how I set my contract in this aspect of myself. I may not ever desire, as part of my contract, to actually meet the other aspect, because actually those other aspects are fulfilling what it is that I wanted to greater learn, so that I could evolve, but also that I could contribute to that ever-expanding source that I talk about, the ever-expandingness of the universe that I talk about. And again, if this doesn't make sense, perhaps you do need to revisit my video which is titled We Are Borg, so that you understand my version of what and who we are and how it's explained to me by my spirit guides. So just to kind of put this basically into the kind of contents of twin flames, is that I might desire, because I've split myself, and I may even just split myself the once, so there's me and another person that's me, that I will label twin flame in this instant. I may desire in my human aspect to actually want to be and want to experience complete and utter joy, love and oneness. I want to experience being back in source, being back in home, but in my human aspect. I want to know what that feels like. So, as part of my human experience, I will be desiring to meet the other aspect of me that is split away, in order so that I can have a sense and enjoy the human aspect of what it is to be complete with that oneness, to have that joy, to have that beautifulness. But in order to have that desire, I've got to have a life experience initially that is contrasted to that perhaps is much more negative, so that I desire to have that desire of meeting my twin flame. Because without the contrast with things in life, then we don't elevate and we don't grow, and we don't perpetuate and have desires that are towards things that are greater, things that are lifted, things that are beautiful. So because I then set that desire, and the other aspect of me would have also set that desire, we in our human aspect would naturally gravitate towards each other like two magnets. And then as I encounter my other me, because that's essentially what twin flames are, it's you, another aspect of you, I would of course feel this euphoric joy and passion and intenseness, because it would feel like coming home. It would feel like oneness, because I'm becoming one with myself, but ultimately with source, with consciousness, which is all joy, all love, all everything, all abundance. And that's why people who understand about twin flames and then therefore are seeking it know the passion of it, because actually what you are joining with is you, but ultimately what you're joining with on a very deep divine level is with source, is with the universe. Hence why twin flame connections feel so magically powerful when we connect to them. Sometimes, let's say, I may have that desire, and I may even meet my twin flame and recognize them and feel that passion, but let's just say that I am in a state of least resistance, that the challenges or that contrast that I talked about has not been very good and it hasn't served me very well, and yet I desire to have this passionate twin flame connection. But because I'm miserable, let's say, or look at things very negatively because of my human aspect experiences, I may meet my twin flame, but I may give my other aspect, who's there ready with welcome arms to invite me in, I may give them trouble because I'm in the path of least resistance. So instead of being magnetically drawn and this enjoying the oneness, even though I feel it, I may challenge it, and therefore cause myself discord and cause my other part of me discord, because I'm not honouring and fulfilling my contract to be one again, to be back with oneness, to be back with source. That is where sometimes when some people talk to me about their own twin flames experiences, or twin flames that they're having right now where there is some discord, is because that is happening for one aspect of themselves that is yet to heal, that is yet to purge, that is yet to listen to their higher self and the desire to be with oneness, and to have faith that just because they had the contrast that this will be the same and that they will be hurt even more. Basically, we deliberately decide to separate ourselves, and some people believe that we only have one twin flame, and quite often traditionally, and that tends to be the case, but actually we can split ourselves in more than one way, that actually we can have more than one twin flame, but most of the time we only choose to connect with one and not two or three. Sometimes people will have something called a near twin experience, which is pretty much, again, another aspect of you that you've experienced because it was needed or necessary in a fleeting moment to do something important in that moment, to help you through a divine moment, and then will pass again. But you won't quite acknowledge it in the same way, because actually contractually or spiritually you didn't set your intentions to join up with that aspect of you you chose to join up with another. I hope this makes sense. So for those of you who may have experienced something that I call a near twin experience, actually they are your twin too, but it wasn't meant to be quite the same way. There are very deeply divine reasons why we would decide to be streams and creeks in multitude, which in our human aspect may make your brain explode as to why that is. But that's my very simplest way of explaining the reasons why. So I'm going to give you the top 10 things to kind of look out for, to know and understand when you have met your twin flame, to recognize them a lot more successfully. So number 1, when you meet them, it feels like home. Feels like home. It feels like home. I can't say that more enough. It feels like you are with you, and that nothing, everything just feels complete. Everything makes sense and doesn't make sense all at the same time. Everything is like, HD. Everything is super ramped up and super fast. Number 2 is that you probably would have dreamed about them beforehand, or had a vision about them, or a sense about them, but you definitely would have had some sort of dream about this person before you actually met them. Because you set your desire to meet this person, and the nearer you get to that meeting, your own subconscious, your own higher self will be preparing you for the experience that you desired to have, which was pure joy and elation to be back with yourself, back with oneness. So you would have had dreams to prepare you for meeting the human aspect of that happening. When it comes to number 3, which is what I call pure reflection, you will be a mirror image emotionally of what's happening with that other person, but also at the same time, you will complement each other very nicely. They will have skills you won't, and you will have skills that they won't. You will be each other's teachers and each other's healers all at the same time. But on a deeper level, emotionally, you will mirror each other perfectly. When one is sad, so is the other. Number 4, that oneness, so that togetherness, does evoke a spiritual awakening deeply inside. Each of you, it's basically a knowing and an awareness that you have rejoined to consciousness. So quite a lot of people will be into exactly this kind of stuff that I'm talking about, because they have met their twin flame, and it sets the spark, because basically with them you understand everything. You understand all source, divineness, everything, energy. You understand life's purpose, the meaning of life, the meaning of everything more when you are with that person. Number 5, it doesn't feel good to be apart from them. Once you meet them, to be apart from them for whatever reason, and it's particularly much more difficult if, when you've met your twin flame, that other half of you is still in a level of resistance. If they're still in that mental place where they are full of negativity and worry about connections and relationships, and are not embracing the desire that they have deeply in their heart that they've always wanted, that's magnified even more. In fact, it causes actual pain. But even if it's a good connection and you both get it and you're in that oneness and you're in that consciousness, and it's super empowering and balancing, to be apart from each other, there's huge discomfort about that. And so most twin flames want to spend all of their time together as much as possible. Number 6, you feel their pain. You actually literally feel the other person's pain. So if they've got a headache, you've got a headache. If they're depressed and sad, you're depressed and sad. It's magnified. If you're separated for whatever reason, and sometimes twin flames where there is, like I said, that resistance going on initially, again, that's where the huge pain comes. It's more than any other relationship. It's more than you would ever tolerate with anybody else. Anybody else who causes you pain in that kind of way, or if you felt their pain in that kind of way, you would not even put up with it. But because of that aspect is you will nurture that aspect unconditionally, but also at a subconscious level, an energy level, you're actually feeling their pain as well. Number 7, the friendship element between you is beyond any other friendship. So it's not just about love and passion, it's about friendship, deeply, deeply embedded with each of you in a very beautiful way. Which then leads to number 8, brings this enormous, beautiful balance that you just feel, not just in your lives, but how you can then be, impart that to other people. And that balance is so good to get, because again, if you meet your twin flame in that resistance mode, then initially you have great turmoil. It's like night and day. But actually that turmoil is still needed. If your twin flame, when you meet them, still needs that contrast in order to kind of move things forward, and you're there to help that, then that's fine, because you'll push them along until the balance is restored, as it should be and as it is, and you become oneness, you become conscious, you become home with that individual. When you have that balance, it leads to number 9, which is the service to others. Because you are awakened, you are aware to spirituality, let's say, we'll label it that way, you will want to impart and to be in service as other, whether it's directly spiritually or whether it is in very mundane ways, through talks, through crystal healing, through being a nurse, through being just a normal teacher, whatever it is, blogging, whatever it is, you will find a way to be in service to each other, but also to try to awaken other people so that they can desire also to meet their other selves, their other twins, in that kind of way. And number 10 is kind of, you basically humble people around you. People around you are humbled by your relationship because they can see the beauty of it and they actually aspire to it. When your twin flame connection is the way that it should be, which is absolutely perfect, then you aspire other people in a very, very, very beautiful way. So I'm going to now move on to actually just quickly speak and see who's talking before I carry on. Hi, so hopefully you got that, and if it was too deep for you, do go back and watch it again and listen to it again, because it is deep stuff. But I think most importantly, I kind of want to impress that, when people explain twin flames, when you see it written down, people do it in the one-dimensional human aspect, and actually what I'm trying to get you to look at is that everything is not just one-dimensional, it is multi-dimensional, and that with that everything is possible. So just before I go on to kind of tell you how you can attract and find your twin flame quicker, if that's what you're desiring to have, because they are rare connections, but if you're desiring it, I'm going to talk about that in a minute and flip to another screen. But I just want to see who's joined me during the time I was talking. So it's all right, Shell, you can watch me tonight, because that's what this is for. Do it live and then you can watch it over and over again until you get sick of me. Terry Rogers, I can help. Of course you can help. Yes, you can help. You are helping, and you know you're helping already in your situation. It just is that resistance thing going on. Yes, you can, and you are already. Jess, oh great, woohoo, all the way from New Zealand as well, Jess. So great. I hope you can stick with me, because it's a long talk, this one today. And hi Inna, and hi Aurora as well. So again, if we go along, if you've got any questions, do pop them in. But I am going to now jump, because I've got a lot to get through. Just to quickly tell you how you can attract your twin flame, and we'll go from here. So this, just to start with, is a very simple thing, or maybe it's not so obvious actually. If you're desiring to meet your twin flames, which by the way is rare, because actually most of the time we choose not to need that aspect. It's not our desire when we go into our human aspect, because we know that when we leave our human aspect, we will become one with oneness anyway, which is joy and abundance. So we don't often choose to have an awareness of our other selves, let's say. But if we do desire to meet our twin flame, the way that you will draw that to you is to change your intention, but also to desire it. But in order to desire it, you have to love yourself, because if you do not love yourself, then how on earth do you expect your twin flame to love all there is about you, the good and the bad? I know it sounds really simple, but actually it's not, because if you've seen any of my other videos, when we come into this human aspect, and particularly because we have that contrast in our life, or those challenges, let's say, in our life, our ego will take over, because that's what the human aspect does, and tells us basically, not to. We're socially conditioned all the time not to love ourselves, not to love whether we're too big, too small, hair's not long, hair's not curly, or there's something we don't have a certain skill. So we spend a lot of our time criticizing ourselves, or we try to go in self-help sort of streams, forever helping ourselves. But the only thing is that when you do that and you perpetually do things where you're trying to self-help yourself, what are you repeatedly telling yourself? You're telling yourself that you need improvement all the time. So therefore you don't really love yourself, including your flaws. And there's nothing wrong with improving yourself, of course not. But it should be done that you're doing it as an add-on and not necessarily as an improvement. You have to see it as an enhancement and not an improvement. So you need to reframe it in your mind. That way you're setting better intentions. And again, just like the law of attraction, you attract things and people around you that then match that. And then don't reinforce the same message that you need to improve things. No, you're just enhancing the beauty and the loveliness of what you are, flaws, warts and all. So you must love yourself. Basically, if you're in a state of resistance, which is worrying, negativity, and you don't love yourself, then you will not attract your twin flame, because you're not setting the right desire. Why would your twin flame want to do that? Or actually, that's maybe not entirely true, because you will meet your twin flame, but you will be the one that is in resistance to it, and therefore give your other self a very hard time, an extremely hard time, in trying to kind of nurture that and heal you out of that, so that they can have that oneness that they desire. So you do have to love yourself completely. Everything about you. Nothing needs to be improved, because you are perfection. It's just about development and enhancement, about betterment, how you can always become a better version of what was already better. That's how, partly. If you are in a resistant experience, you may not meet your twin, or you will meet, but it will be very challenging at first, until you love yourself. So I think you get the theme here. Basically, have self-acceptance and self-approval. You need to dramatically improve your relationship with yourself. You need to love your flaws. You don't need to change, because your twin flame will love you with all those warts and all. They truly will, just as you will love them. It's a beautiful and powerful thing, but I would say here that the fact that you are here with me today, watching me talking about twin flames, in the best way that I can explain it to you, that you already desire to be with your twin flame, or to meet your twin flame, or you already have met your twin flame, but perhaps they are in that resistant state. What's important for you to know, that the fact that you're watching this and that you desire it actually means it is a very thing that you will get. Because once you desire it, and once we desire anything, and once we set our intentions vibrationally to the very thing that we desire, and we know how to do it, basically contractually, if you look at it like that way, it is coming. So I would say here, for those of you watching this today, you need to be excited that your twin is not very far away, and if you're in a resistant one, that they won't be resistant for much longer, because the aspect of you will be helping, teaching and healing them, to help them move into a state of desire, so that you can have the oneness and completion. Because that's the whole point of twin flames. Even with the resistance, in the end you all give in to love, and that's the greatest thing in the world, without me sounding like a complete tippy. So I'm just going to switch back to me now. Hold on a moment. So I hope that kind of resonated and went in. And I think the other thing I just want to add on to the end of that is when people look at twin flames, they see themselves as split and separate and not whole, and so then they spend their entire lives kind of thinking they need to search for that so that it can come complete. No, you are complete already. You are perfect as you are. Hence why the most important way to attract your twin flame is to love yourself, because if you feel that you're damaged in some way, that you're splitting, you're not perfect with all those warts and all that I've talked about, then how on earth do you expect your twin flame and you to kind of have this harmonious oneness, source kind of divine kind of wonderfulness? And even being with a twin flame is just an enhancement to your experience in the human aspect, and have the human experience in the divine, which is just beautiful, without me getting really emotional about it, because it is beautiful as well. So I hope that's made sense. Like I said, if it didn't, just watch it again. Okay, so I'm going to move on now to talking about what toxic relationships or false twin connection. Like I said, for those of you who are watching, do comment. I will get back to as many as I can as we go along as well, and I have some questions that were pre-sent to me on my Facebook community that I will also get through as well. So right, for those of you who know me very well, I like loads of different analogies about things and loads of different metaphors of things to hopefully help people grasp things. So, and for those of you who've been on my community for a while, I've put this subject up for a while, but it does go hand in hand with this. So basically this is my puppy dog metaphor, and just because I'm a child but just to help you visualize, I think here's a picture of some puppies just to get you in the mood. Too cute. Anyway, I want you to imagine those puppies, or one of those puppies. Okay, imagine that puppy, and I also want you to imagine a scientist. Okay, which one are you when I talk about this? And really, be honest with yourself. For you to identify whether you're in a toxic relationship or whether you have a false twin flame, these will be the identifying sort of factors to kind of know that you're basically in a toxic relationship, and also why you might find it extremely difficult to leave that toxic relationship because of the passionate kind of overwhelming sort of stuff that may be going on at an emotional level, but very much a psychological kind of level whilst you're in this human experience. So basically, I'm going to be talking about reinforcement, and I'm going to be talking about two different types of reinforcement that happens using this puppy analogy. So we have consistent reinforcement, and then we have intermittent reinforcement. Now, consistent reinforcement, you can easily look at it like this. If you have this scientist who is trying to train this puppy, and what it's doing every day when the puppy pushes a button, it just gives it a biscuit. And it does that every day. Every time the puppy presses the button, even if it's 100 times a day, it gives it a biscuit. And then there's another scientist that's doing the same kind of experiment, but every time the puppy presses the button, it's not getting a biscuit. Both those experiments work very well. The puppy gives up. The one that presses the button doesn't get anything. It just gives up in the end and just goes off pressing the button because there's no need to press the button. That's what's called consistent reinforcement in both those analogies, because whatever is being done consistently. They're consistently either given a biscuit or they're consistently not giving the dog a biscuit. That's quite healthy. We can then, if we were the puppy, we could make a decision about whether we're very happy getting those biscuits or whether we're not unhappy that we're not getting any biscuits, we're not getting our needs met, and so we'll just move on. Now, those scientists thought that's a really good experiment. Let's change the game. Let's do a different game. Now, this is where you need to listen. The scientist says, this time we're not going to be consistent. We're going to be all over the place. We're going to be intermittent. It's going to be sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. Maybe once a day, maybe twice a day. Maybe we'll go once a week without giving the puppy a biscuit when it presses the button. It's just going to be purely random. Completely 100% random. What the scientists found with the puppy was the puppy, no matter what, because it was like chance, it would still press the button. It would never do what the other puppy did when it was never getting any biscuits. It would just finally give up and turn away. It just kept pressing the button. Just kept pressing it, hoping that maybe randomly that scientist at some point, because at some point it would, get a biscuit. And so that puppy, they did that experiment for as long as they could, until one day they said, oh, we've done this for months now. I think we should just give up on the experiment. You know, we've got the data that we needed. We can see that the puppy still is pressing the button even though we're inconsistent, because it's kind of hoping for it. So they quit the experiment. Then one of the scientists noticed that even though it had been a few more months now and they hadn't even done the experiments, that puppy, that poor lovely puppy, was still pressing the button. It was still pressing the button, hoping that it was going to get another biscuit. So much so it was stressed, it was anxious, it stopped taking care of itself, didn't want to be around its other puppy friends. It just hoped and hoped that if it pressed that button and if it did it every day, once or a few times, that maybe I might get a biscuit. Do you see where I'm going with this? Because if you don't, then I'm saying it wrong. Toxic relationships are basically like that. And why? What happens? Basically, you've got to see it like a bit like an addiction. When somebody offers us intermittent feelings or love or their time, and it's done randomly, it's not consistently one way or the other, then we are getting into a toxic relationship where one of you is the scientist and one of you is the puppy. And sometimes the scientist doesn't know, because in that analogy, that scientist didn't know that what he was doing was necessarily causing pain or distress to that puppy, but it was still going on. And for that puppy, you've got to see it like addiction. So if you're gambling, that's what gamblers do. They will go and they'll play slots and then they'll win. But it's the algorithms of gambling machines, they're all very random. So you may win, you may not. But if you get addicted to that because you get this buzz, you keep playing, you keep putting your chips in, hoping that maybe again you'll win big. It's the same thing. Basically, at an emotional, psychological and very chemical level in your human aspect, you're becoming addicted to that kind of intermittent reinforcement that your partner is giving. Or you may be the person who, for whatever reason, maybe is not ready for a relationship, has got some inner issues that need to be dealt with, that you kind of want to be close to that person, but you just can't quite do it because it's just not fixing up. So you're the scientist. There are some people, some scientists, let's say, who deliberately know what they're doing, and these people will be people that have borderline personality or extreme narcissism. So they know exactly what they're doing, very calculated, and they know that they can take you for granted, and then they know that they can do this for as long as they want, and even sometimes will go years, still hoping that you might want that biscuit. And this is where I refer to you identifying, because the difference with twin flames, a twin flame, the challenges, if you have any, are very short term, and there is still consistency. The healing happens quickly. Because twin flame connections are beauty, they're not supposed to be horrible, and if they are, then you'll just part away until the timing is right. They will not feed you biscuits in that kind of random way. Whereas a toxic karmic relationship will, and they're very painful, particularly if you're the puppy, the vulnerable one. So don't be the puppy. And that's why I said in my last video clip that it's so super important that you love yourself, because when you love yourself, flaws and all, and you have self-worth, then nobody can offer you a biscuit or not offer you a biscuit, because you'll get your own biscuit. Do you understand? Because you are perfection. You don't need somebody to complete you. It's just about divineness and wholeness and oneness, advancement, not to fix you. So that was my very deep segment of what I was talking about, but I think a really important one, because as a reader I do speak to a lot of people where that comes up, and sometimes people don't see it or want to hear it. I think it's important to recognise when something is a false twin or when something is a toxic relationship, and to know the difference and the contrast. Okay. So quickly, just to see if anyone is saying anything. Oh, Tracy Wilson, you was the puppy. I think at all stages we've all been the puppy at one point or another, and as you know, trying to wean yourself of any kind of addiction to anything is extremely hard. You have to go cold turkey, and if you find that what I said to you resonates and you don't know what to do, you pretty much have to go cold turkey, and I won't lie, it's going to hurt. But will you have that spiritual growth? When you love yourself, will you actually attract your twin flame or a soulmate to you like that? Bam. Oh yeah. So it is worth going through that pain just to remove the person who is causing it from your life. And don't be fooled that they've gone 6 months or a year and then they turn up again and say to you, oh, I've changed. Nope. What are they doing? They're giving you a biscuit. So just ignore it, basically. So, hi, hello there, Rachel. Oh, thank you for the comment. Rachel says, this is wonderful, Bella. You're right, love yourself. Yes, everybody should love themselves. It's the hardest thing to do, because when you think about it, we, as a society, sometimes we're conditioned to either compete against each other, to be better, to be more, because that's a human aspect, that's the ego in play. So it's super hard to try and love ourselves, but when you do, trust me, magic happens. And if you don't know how to manifest or to do that, do go to my website. I do have lots of stuff on manifesting. I have online courses, a whole raft of things. So do go there, or you can listen to this a million times, or come and see me personally for a personal reading, whatever it is you need. So I'm going to now go to some questions very quickly before I wrap up my live that was sent to me beforehand. I think some of what I've talked about, though, just cover some of this. So Melinda says, I think I'm in a twin situation. Pretty sure he is a runner. Why is it easy for him to date someone else? I know I have unconditional love for him and I couldn't see myself with anyone else, but my God, it's hard. Well, what makes you think that it's easy for him is my question that I want to throw back to you. Because just like I said about the whole resistance things, if you're not ready or you're resistant to it, then you may do exactly what he has done. But don't be under any illusion, because this is what my guides are confirming, don't be under any illusion that actually that is easy for him. You need to see it like a big plaster, which is just covering up what is happening at a much more deeper level. And trust me, sometimes we're very good at wearing masks, but in this energy that we have, particularly this year, my dear, I feel that mask will slip quite quickly. So allow him to have still this contractual experience that he's probably got with this other person, as he still has personal growth, and just spend all your time loving yourself in your feminine beauty and knowing that you're worth it. And when he is ready to be oneness with you and have that beauty, then you will be ready too. So I do hope that's answered that question. So I'm going to move on now to the next one. Monica, my twin flame moved on to somebody else. Why, and are they my twin flame? Again, very similar to the other one, they're still fulfilling their some contractual aspects that they had before. So like I said, when you think about things as being sort of splits and creeks and streams and stuff, we've chosen that because we actually wanted to have the desire of having certain experiences. We needed the contrast. So basically the way my guides are saying with your person is that they're needing to still have that contrast so that they have the desire to want to be with their twin flame. So it's very similar to the other one, but it feels to me that their contractual aspects that they are still exploring are not quite over for them. Karen said, is it most likely that you will end up with your twin flame after the running state? Yes. But it'd be the when. So again, I think a lot of the questions that I've got is when people are meeting their twin when they're in a resistant kind of state. And I feel here, what the worst thing you can do is to join them in that resistant state, particularly if you join them in that kind of worry. You would tune your mind to think, oh, it's never going to happen, or I'm not good enough, or this is too hard, or whatever this is. In a way, you need to let it be greatly, change your thoughts, love yourself. Sorry, the hippie now. and allow it to flow to you. Don't go up the current, because it is their journey to learn and not yours. You need to rest assured that you have understood the divine, you understand what's going on, and that when they're ready to be healed by you, they will step forward in a consistent way and not in an intermittent way. Okay? So, Zara, this is my last one I'm going to go through. So Zara said, obviously twin flame relationships are painful at the beginning. Is twin flame relationships a type of toxic relationship too? One to be avoided? Well, I hope I explained that, because I don't feel that the word obviously twin flames are very painful connections. It's not true at all. Obviously in this stream I've talked about identifying where there is a struggle, because sometimes there can be because of that resistance that goes on. But actually a lot of twin flames meet and there is none of that resistance whatsoever. They meet and bam, woo, it's Mary Poppins. It's beauty straight out of the goalpost. So it is not an obvious thing to have challenges, but when challenges do happen, and I have seen some twin flame situations where actually those challenges are quite deep, and so it may take years for that to flourish, but actually that's been almost contractually agreed for that to happen. So not everybody is in that situation, and like I said, because twin flame connections are quite rare, because we don't choose to normally meet up with that aspect of ourselves, because we are already perfection, we don't necessarily need that. But actually the journey doesn't matter how you get there. You always need to know that if you met your twin flame, in the end you will be together and you will be whole and enjoy source and all the things that I talked about as well. So I think it's really important that your reality about things is how you perceive it, and you need to learn to change your thoughts. And most importantly, what everybody needs to learn to do is learn how to love themselves, because when we do that, not only do you meet your twin flame, but all things flow to you in a much more marvellous and much more easier way as well. And I would say here, because I'm going to wrap up now, because it's been a long talk, I don't want to bore you. Firstly, this is my live feed that I've done that's not been on my phone, it's been on my laptop, and I've gone the whole way through without a single technical hic. Yay me! So I'm really pleased about that. I didn't want to jinx it at the beginning, so I'm really pleased. And I just really hope, like I said, if you're watching this, you've been watching this for a reason. It's because you do desire to meet your twin flame, and I'm pretty darn sure that just because of that you will tune yourself, love yourself, and you will very much meet your twin flame. I've been Bella. It's been super great to give you this talk today. If you'd like to look at any of my services, just check down below if you're looking on YouTube, or check up above if you're watching on Facebook, and or visit my website at bellathesecretpsychic.com, or if you're watching from YouTube, come over to my Facebook community as well, which just search for Bella the Secret Psychic. Please do like, do share and subscribe, or follow all those lovely, wonderful things that people do with technology these days. So I do hope that I've been helpful at all, and it has been a pleasure. So goodbye from me and my guides. Take care. Bye bye.